Hello children, today I am going to explain the lesson The Storyteller, written by Saki H.H. Munro. The lesson name is The Storyteller. So you can open your textbooks and turn the page 144. 144. Okay, very interesting lesson. So hope you will enjoy the lesson. Listen carefully. Okay. Let us start the lesson. I think you are all ready with your textbooks. First paragraph is like this. Okay, I am going to read it. It was a hot afternoon and the railway carriage was correspondingly sultry. And the next stop was at Templecombe, nearly an hour ahead. Okay, here in the first few lines, it is like that. So, it was a hot afternoon. Okay, it was hot afternoon. Afternoon time, some people were traveling in a train. So, here we can see railway carriage. Means in the railway station, and they are all traveling in a train, and that was a compartment. You know, right? In train, compartments will be there, bogies will be there. So, in one compartment, these people are sitting in that and they are traveling. We don't know who are those people, who are the occupants of the compartment. We are going to see who are and all. Okay, that was. But the atmosphere, the climate is hot afternoon. Afternoon time, it was so hot, and that was the temperature of that place. And also inside the compartment also little bit suffocating. We know, right, how it will be. And the next stop is, what is the next stop? Next stop was Templecombe, and nearly 1 hour is there for that. So 1 hour these people who are there in that compartments, what and all they have done in that compartment, something happened, they heard stories like that. So they need to spend the time, right? So we need to do time pass in the train. So that will be good sometimes. So let us see how the people, how they spend the time in that compartment. That and all we are going to see. So the occupants of the carriage were a small girl, a smaller girl, and a small boy. Underline that. Who were the occupants of the compartment or carriage of the train? One is small girl, second one smaller girl, and third one is small boy. So almost all the three people are children, we can understand. An aunt belonging to the children occupied one corner seat. Okay, one aunt means who was the caretaker of those children. She also sat at one corner place. And the further corner seat on the opposite side was occupied by a bachelor who was a stranger to their party. But the smaller girls and the small boy emphatically occupied the compartment. Both the aunt and the children were conversational in a limited, persistent way. The children reminding one of the attentions of a housefly that refuses to be discouraged. Okay, these people are talking. We know, right, the children cannot be silent, especially while traveling. They will be making some noise. So, in the same way, even the three children, smaller girl, small girl and small boy, who belongs to one aunt, they all together occupied the entire compartment, and they are making conversations between each other. And one corner, opposite corner of that compartment, so one bachelor also there. He took one seat. We know, right, in the compartment two seats will be there. Not two seats, I mean like a bench. This side and the opposite side, the middle place will be left over. So in one side, imagine window is there, for window left side and right side, two seats will be lengthy seats, they will be arranged. So there on the one seat, one side one bachelor was sitting, and the another side these three children along with their auntie, they occupied the compartment, the seat. But these children are occupying entire place and they are making so much of hangama there. So the conversation was happening about housefly and something and all they were talking. Okay, at that time, most of the aunt's remarks seemed to begin with do not, and nearly all of the children's remarks began with why. The bachelor said nothing out loud. Bachelor was there in that compartment, so he also listening that conversation that was happening between the children. But all the time that aunt was telling them, do not. So it is common, right? The elderly people, they will be telling, do not do this, don't do this, don't display, don't put your hands outside the window, don't jump, don't make noise. These are the things the elder people will be telling to, they'll be telling the children not to do this, that and all. So in the same way, even aunt also making such statements, do not. The statements are starting with do not. The children will never like that statement, isn't it? Right? That's common thing. Do not. If you say don't do, so the children's mind will be turned. Why? Immediately they say, why aunt said not to do this? Immediately they began to think like that, and they'll think to do that. Let us see what will happen if we do. That is the mentality of the children. So same thing, but this bachelor who was sitting and who had been observing these children, he didn't say anything calm, just he was calmly observing these children. And again, do not, Cyril, do not, exclaimed the aunt as the small boy began smacking the cushions of the seat, producing a cloud of dust at each blow. So Cyril was the one boy, small boy was there, no? So he also began to do some noise in that compartment. You know, generally boys will make much noise, you know. So this boy started to do noise, and one side aunt was telling, don't do that and all. But what was the action that this boy was doing? What was the activity? Just he was smacking the cushions, means so forcibly he was hitting the cushions on whom that boy was sitting. He was sitting on that cushions. Okay, this boy began to give blows on that, and so much of dust has come. So much of dust was coming out of that cushions, and it has become like a smoke, a cloud of dust. How it will be? It will be so irritating, right? The small children will do like that. They do like that. Okay, so he began to smack the cushions of the seat and producing cloud of dust at each blow. Smacking means forcibly hitting. So forcefully he was hitting like that. So because of that, the whatever dust was there on the cushions, it began to come out of that, and it some cloud of dust has been formed over that. Then after that, aunt was telling, don't do that and all. She was getting irritated. Come and look out of the window, she added. Okay, after telling don't do that and all, then she began to divert that boy. Okay, you come and sit along with me. You can see what is there outside the window. That will be so entertainment for you. So like that she began to make this give some suggestions to that boy. The child moved reluctantly to the window. So reluctantly means not willingly. He didn't like, but auntie said no. So simply he went and began to sit near to the window, and he was observing what was there outside the window. Then first question he began to put. So remember this. Why are those sheep being driven out of that field? He asked. Who asked this? This was the first question asked by the boy Cyril. The moment he looked out through the window, so he saw one scene. What was that? Sheep. The sheep were being driven out of the field. It means that at first the sheep were grazing some grass in that field, but immediately maybe some people were there, so they were driving out of that sheep, out of that field. They are driving the sheep out of that field. So he asked a question. Why those sheep were driven out of the field. What was the region? Now auntie has to answer that question. Then let us see what was the answer of that question. Fourth paragraph. I expect they are being driven to another field where there is more grass, said the aunt weakly. How did she say? Weakly. Maybe she might have been tired giving so much of answers for that boy and taking care of that boy, no? She was controlling that boy. But at the time she said, okay, maybe in that another field so much of grass was there. That's why the sheep has been driven out of that field. Next, see the second question. But there is lots of grass in that field, protested the boy. Okay, he didn't accept that answer. Why? Because he noticed that in that field already which the sheep was grazing there, that field was filled with good grass. Grass is there, that is enough for that sheep. They would have eaten that grass itself. Why are those sheep has been driven out of the field? That was the question. So he didn't accept that answer what was given by aunt. Now there is nothing else but grass there. Aunt said, there is lots of grass in that field. The boy said, okay, but what was the another answer? Let us see. Perhaps the grass in the other field is better. Underline that statement. Okay, this is the second question answer. First question, what was the first question here? Why are those sheep being driven out of the field? That was the first question of Cyril, and Anne said that maybe the grass which is there in the another field is in the another field much grass is there, but Cyril didn't answer. Okay, whatever the grass is there in that field, that is enough for that is good only. Then why? What was the reason? Then auntie began to say the another answer. Perhaps the grass in the other field is better. Maybe this grass, okay, I accept that here in this field grass is there, but this grass might not be good. In the another field, that grass is better than this grass. That's why they have been driven away to the another field, suggested the aunt fatuously. Why is it better? See. Really funny question, right? Auntie will be puzzled. She can't answer that question. Why is it better? How can she answer that question, right? If you are there in the aunt's position, what will you do? Check. Okay, very irritating fellow. So, why is it better? Came the swift, inevitable question. She cannot answer and she cannot avoid also. She needs to answer that. She needs to answer that question. Then, oh, look at those cows, exclaimed the auntie. Okay, auntie is trying to divert that boy's attention. So she began to say like that, okay, see, look that cows, how good they are, exclaimed the aunt. Nearly every field along the line had contained cows or bullocks, but she spoke as though she were drawing attention to a rarity. Okay, so instead of answering this question, so aunt begins to give some more information. She is trying to divert Cyril's mind, Cyril's attention. See, in that each and every field, so it is on the line, the borders, every border is filled with the cows. There small cows are there, bullocks are there. See how good it is. Like that she began to divert the attention of that boy. But why is the grass in the other field better? Again Cyril, he didn't get diverted. He keep on asking. He was keep on asking that question. Why is the grass in the other field better? The frown on the bachelor's face was deepening to a scowl. Now the turn to bachelor. He was sitting there in that compound, the same compartment, and he was bearing that noise and all. Okay? So his face began to becoming like anger. Okay, so angry. He was looking so scaringly and angrily. Then the scowl means here angry face. He was getting angry, really irritating. So he was hard. He was a hard, unsympathetic man. The aunt decided in her man. So she thought about that man, the bachelor. What was her opinion? Hard fellow, unsympathetic man. So she got such type of impression on that bachelor, because he didn't responded, and he didn't respond anything, and also his face also becoming little bit angry. So that's why she made this decision that this man was really harsh fellow. She was utterly unable to come to any satisfactory decision about the grass in that other field. She was unable to answer that question. That fellow again 2 times he asked the same question, because Anne couldn't answer that question. How can she say, wow, why is the grass in the other field better? I mean, how can she see? She didn't go outside the field, outside the train, as just she was traveling along with them. She cannot make a decision. So she was in trouble. Then the smaller girl created a diversion by beginning to recite, on the road to Mandalay. She only knew the first line. So one girl is there, a smaller girl. She was remembering one rhyme maybe. So she began to recite that poem line. So she began to say like that. She knew only the first line or one line only. So same line she began to recite again and again repeatedly. But she put her limited knowledge to the fullest possible use. She repeated the line over and over again in a dreamy but resolute and very audible voice. It seemed to a bachelor as though someone had a bet with her that she could not repeat the line aloud 2000 times without stopping. Whoever it was who had made the wager was likely to lose his bet. Okay, here the smaller girl began to recite the same line again and again. The bachelor was there. It has become so unbearable. He couldn't bear that girl keep on telling the same line. He was, and that noise was unbearable to this bachelor. He thought that someone might have put bet. You had to say that the line 2000 times without stopping. So it was like that. She made that much show. So come over here and listen to a story, said the aunt. Okay, at last aunt said that okay, these people are not at all getting control. Better to do something. So at last she said that okay, all together come here. I am going to tell a story. When the bachelor had looked twice at her and once at the communication cord, okay, this man began to observe that woman also. What type of woman is she? She's getting irritated over children, like that. He began to look at that aunt. 2 times he looked at her. The children moved listlessly towards the aunt's end of the carriage. Evidently, her reputation as a storyteller did not rank high in their estimation. Okay, the children also went near to aunt to listen the story without any interest. Listlessly means they don't have any enthusiasm to listen the story. Okay. Maybe they might have been listening the stories from their aunt, and they were so tired and they were feeling so bored of auntie's stories. That's why they didn't show any interest at all. Then it means that and they have expressed that their auntie is not a good storyteller. Okay, they express that auntie is not a good storyteller. Then in a low confidential voice, interrupted at frequent intervals by loud petulant questioning from her listeners, she began an An enterprising and deplorably uninteresting story about a little girl who was good and made friends with everyone on account of her goodness, and was finally saved from a mad bull by a number of rescuers who admired her moral character. So she said one beautiful story. Okay, one beautiful story. There was a beautiful girl. One girl was there. Because of her goodness, everyone began to like him. They used to advise him. At last, when she was about to die, okay, by the attack of bull, at that time, all the rescues, so many rescuers came and they admired and they began to save her. They saved her from the bull, mad bull. That was the small story told by aunt to that children, without any exaggeration, without any enthusiasm. She didn't she didn't express any interest also. So like that, in a peculiar manner, she began to tell the story. They also heard the story without any enthusiasm. Okay, now wouldn't they have saved her if she had not been good? Demanded the bigger of the smaller girls. Sorry, small girls. So one girl is smaller, one girl is small girl, right? So bigger of that small girl, one girl began to ask like that. Okay, if she was not good, they would not save her. Because of her goodness, she had been saved by them. So it was exactly the question that the bachelor had wanted to ask. Even the bachelor, who had been observing this conversation and the story also, he was listening, right? So even he wanted to ask the same question. But Auntie said, "Well, yes," admitted the aunt lamely, "but I don't think they would have run quite so fast to her help if they had not liked her so much." But this, I think this statement is not correct, because when the person is in trouble, especially in danger, no one will remember their bad things or good deeds. Just they will run, as they will show their humanity, just they will run as it is and they will try to save that person. But here aunt told that because of her goodness, altogether the people who and all watching there, they rushed towards that place and they saved her. So that was the answer given by aunt. But that was not satisfied by the girl or even by the bachelor.